Welcome to the Markets Happy Hour podcast, a weekly markets update for investors the world over. Each week we discuss inflation, geopolitics, interest rates, equity markets, and other asset classes. To try to answer the question, what does this mean for my investment portfolio? Let's dive in.
You bring up a ton of great points. I'll just hit on a couple of them really quickly. First, I am impressed. Starmer is still around. The betting markets, poly market in particular, has him at 50% out in the next few months. But based upon the support that he's received from members of the party, I think as long as the economy in the UK continues to stay steady and or grow, then he may be able to hold his spot. On the growth in spending from the US and from Europe in the defensive sector, that's exactly what I expect. And I think what everyone expects when they see in the US, for example, the US military budget on an annual basis is normally around 800 to $900 billion per year. And Trump has said recently that he'd like to get that up to $1 trillion. He likes big numbers, starting with a T, so that helps. That makes discretionary spending in the US as part of the budget much lower percent, and the ability for the US to have any fiscal maneuver because of the amount they have to spend on entitlement spending and defense spending gives them almost no room to maneuver. Republicans used to be the party of smaller budgets and decreasing the deficit, but they've kind of thrown that out the window because the dollar's strength, it has been weak over the past year, but they don't see it going away anytime soon. In the Europe and particularly Germany, the enormous change philosophically of moving to increase drastically and also blow past the previous budget constraints on defense spending and spending generally is largely a reflection of the acknowledgement of the fact that their once strong and outstanding automotive sector has spectacularly imploded. Porsche, which used to have billions of dollars annually in profits, their profit dropped, I think, almost 90% last year. And most German automakers have recognized that their drastic coverage and success in China has now been completely eroded and maybe completely gone in the next few years with the rise of the Chinese automotive sector. So defense spending in Europe is not just a reflection of the concerns about what's happening in the Ukraine, but also a reflection of the fact that that is a strength in terms of jobs and the ability to create larger impact in the economy that they could have otherwise from service sectors, which take longer to spin up, have much less of a flow-through impact for every dollar spent by the government. And then on the next slide, you were mentioning, sorry, the next one after this one. Yeah, you were mentioning what's happening in Japan. Sanae Takeichi just won the largest majority, but the key thing is for her and what she'd like to do in Japan. So the LDP has been in power since 70 years now. But the key that she would like, the founding mission of the LDP party, was to change the 1947 Constitution that was imposed upon Japan by the US government after the end of World War II. And a key to that is changing Article 9, which basically forces Japan to be a pacifist country. The problem that she's going to have is that even though she controls the lower house with a solid two-thirds majority, which would allow her to pass changes to the Constitution, she does not have as much control in the upper house, where she would also need a two-thirds majority. So a lot of folks think that she's going to take this to try to get some small wins to try to change some things in the Constitution. But Japan itself, as an economy and as a place to invest, seems like a focus of strength because, number one, the strength that she has to try to drive change in the country, the strength, particularly in the corporate sector, in the reduction of cross-corporate holdings from Japanese equity companies, which is nothing but bountiful, and also the push to get more women to have better strength in the corporate workplace and have better rights as women in the corporate workplace and in society generally. The one thing against Japan is long-term demographic issues, but that is a 20, 30, 40-year issue, not the next couple of year issue. So Japan looks like it's going to be very strong for the next few years.
That's fascinating. A return to womenomics. I think that was
Oh,
certainly,
I love that.
yeah, it was a very interesting buzzword in Japan, probably 5 to 10 years ago. And just in terms of the, it's getting a lot of attention. We're seeing this strong mandate, which has been unusual, I suppose, in governments around the world to have that strong a mandate. I think we're describing this as this lack of slight digestion, profit indigestion around tech stocks in the US as a tech detox. And we've certainly seen that since the beginning of the year. And whether this is a great opportunity for the EU to tout its wares in terms of why it is an attractive investment destination. And of course, Japan as well.